Good morning and welcome everyone to our next month of Wander Lane. This month we are working on the Honeybee Hollow section of our quilt. I am getting over a head cold, so I do apologize if I go into a coughing fit. I'm hoping I can get through this without any problems. My water bottle is sitting in the way. So this month, again, we are continuing on with our On Wander Lane blocks. Let's get that cup out of the way here. We're working on our Honeybee Hollow, and if you are part of our block of the month, you received your kit, or it's here to be picked up. That contains everything that we need to make this center applique block and then the 3-piece blocks that are for this month. So let me come over here and let's show you. So here is our applique house block for the month, and then the 3-piece blocks. We have a bee, a strawberry, and a floral block that we are going to be using or creating this month to put towards our big quilt at the end of this event. Now, we are, let's put this here so that you can see some things as we go over the cutting and the creation of this particular block. So again, if you're doing the graphics or the pictures or the fabrics that were used in the image on the front cover of the pattern are different than the graphics that we use in the full quilt. So if you notice, the house block that we have for this month has that cream colored section in it, and if you were looking at the front graphic of the picture, it shows a blue section in where that cream is at. So pay attention to my colors of what I've chosen for this month that coordinate with the big picture of the end result of the full quilt. So for cutting purposes here, I just want to go over a few things. There were no pattern corrections for this month, so we don't have to worry about any errors. This cream colored stripe here, that is section A in our pattern. The stripe runs vertical. Okay, so when you cut this, you want this to be 11.5 inches tall and 6 inches wide, and we want the stripes to be running basically top to bottom. Okay. Section B is the whisper weave, the tone-on-tone style here that we have. Let's see if we've got, zoom in here a little so you can see. Okay, and then this is section C, which is the little grid formation that we have. So those 3 pieces will be cut and then pieced together to create your large 12.5 inch square block. I would then take the green grass piece that's in your kit, your applique piece that's been laser cut for you, or if you've not, don't have our laser cut kits, you want to take and trace the grass pattern that you'll find in the paperwork. They call it the hill. Onto fusible web, iron that fusible web to the wrong side of the green whisper weave print, and then cut on the line. We're going to fuse that in place, and then we will create and attach the checkerboard piece that's at the bottom of this block. This checkerboard piece is done with the red grid fabric and then the green with the floral print. You're going to cut 2 1.5 by 10-inch pieces that are, we're going to strip them together, we're going to subcut and then sew them back together into the piece that we need to attach to the bottom of our center created section. Okay, and then I always press the seam towards the pieced pieces, and on these pieced checkerboard pieces I do press my seam allowances open, just because they're smaller pieces, and pressing one way or the other, and then when we go to press this piece down, it kind of reduces a little bit of the bulk that creates or happens there. Okay, I do go and sew 1/8 of an inch across the bottom of this checkerboard piece once I have it attached, just so that over the next, what are we on, month 4? So we have, what, 7 more months left, that these seams don't start to separate on me or come apart. So this is just 1/8 of an inch stay stitch right at the bottom of that. You won't see it in the final assembly and seam allowance, but that'll help just keep that from starting to pull apart as we handle and manipulate and maneuver all of these blocks when you're doing your appliques and things like that. Okay, so once we have that together, that is going to get all of our applique pieces. I'm going to take the buttons out of this, and that's going to be all the pieces we'll take over to the ironing board here in a moment. And we'll fuse them to that background. Let's look at cutting the rest of our project. First up is going to be the block for the honeybee. Okay, so you can see the little honeybee down there in the corner. The white with the little berry is his wings. You have a gray weave, and you have a gold color scallop, blossom scallop I believe she calls it, is the bee. And then you have a piece of whisper weave. It's a different shade of blue than what was used. This was used in the background, so it's a bluer piece. Okay, is used for the bumblebee. So those pieces are cut according to the information in your pattern to create your bumblebee. And then after we'll sew the bumblebee today. You have a flower block. So the flower block has that fussy cut Wander Lane print in the center. Okay, so this is a 3.5 inch square. Again, you're going to get a brand new piece of that print in your kit, but I was able to and did continue to use, these are all of the pieces here. Okay, here is the one that I've been able to use for all the months so far. I've been able to get the house that I wanted to go in the center of that block out of that one particular piece, and then I'm just saving the other pieces can go into other blocks or other projects that are in the particular book. So I found the piece that I wanted to go into the center of my flower block. You have the stripe. Okay, so with the stripe and the flower block, we have, those are extra pieces. You have the cream colored stripe. They're all squares, so it won't matter when you're cutting them which direction the stripe goes. It'll make more sense, or it'll be more important when we go to sew these half square triangles that these go the right direction. We have the green grid piece for our leaves, and then we have the gold stripe for the flower. Now, with the gold stripe, I would cut it These are going to become basically flying geese units, these rectangles. I think they're the fabric B. So there's 4 of them. They're 2 by 3.5. I would like for you to cut them with the stripe going top to bottom. Okay, so they're 2 inches tall. Okay, so I want the stripe to be going across the 2 inches. And then that way, if we do that all the way around, that piece will stand up like that all the way across versus running this direction. I think it gives a better visual for that when you cut those stripes. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you cut it the other way. The squares that we have to cut out of the yellow, it won't matter. It'll matter when we start to put it with the block. Okay, that is our flower block. And then lastly, we have our strawberry. So you have the red grid piece. That is going to be our strawberry. Excuse me one second. Okay, so red grid is our strawberry. The green vine is our leaf, and the background of our strawberry is the sprinkle, okay? The white with the blue and green and gray sprinkle. So those are the fabrics that you need. No directional importance to any of those particular pieces for that. Okay, now, so that makes up, we are making 1 strawberry, 1 flower, and 1 bumblebee block this month, okay, in addition to our house block. And again, once I'm done cutting out my pieces, I'm going to go and just keep all of my pieces filed in here with my other scraps so that I just have everything together. Should I want to make a design change down the road or anything along that lines, I can look at what I have available in my scraps from previous months and be able to pull what I need from there. Okay. All right. So we'll put all that away. Got a stripe here. Green is new, these yellows are new. Okay. Now I've got everything nice and neat, and plus if I accidentally make a mistake cutting or miscut something, I do have extras to be able to create from there. All right, we're gonna head over to the ironing board. We're going to get our block all fused together here, and we will work on that before we go and get ourselves piecing. Okay. We'll move him here in this upper corner just so we have a visual. I'm going to need a small pair of scissors with me here so that I can cut some things apart. You wouldn't think that finding a pair of scissors would be the most challenging thing for me today. Okay. So I'm going to open up my house block here, my pattern layout, as I've done previously, and I'm going to stick my applique mat over top of it so that I can see what I got. pull out my pieces. All right, so obviously we're going to start with the house because he is in the background, okay? And we're going to start with him first. And with the house, we have our body of our house, and then we have the chimney of our house as well. And then on top of that will come the roof. We'll get all of our doors and everything on, as doors and windows on as well. So we'll get that. Now, if you remember, I suggest that when we remove the backing from our applique sheets, that we don't pick at the edges because that will cause that to fray. Okay, so I just take a straight pin and kind of mark a diagonal, draw an X to score the paper, and then I can peel. Okay. Now I'm using an applique pressing sheet, Teflon mat, because I can heat set or I can iron things to this, and it's not going to permanently stick to it. It's going to kind of hold in place for me, and it's kind of tacky without even any ironing. Take my iron and I'm going to set it down here. Particularly in the areas that overlap that other piece of fabric. Our door is this gold blossom piece. I'm just going to lift up the corner here and kind of get a visual as to, there's where my door should be approximately. Just going to tack that just a tad. We have all the windows, okay, for our house. This house has lots of windows. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to clip the little connectors. Pull this apart. If there's other things you would like for me to demonstrate or talk about each month, please feel free to reach out to me and ask. I'll gladly cover. I don't know if anybody would be interested in doing this project as kind of quilt as you go, if you would be curious in how to do quilt as you go, so you could quilt each house individually versus and then put it together. I don't know if that intrigues anyone. Okay. All right, I'm going to start with the two windows that are on the roof. Okay, so I have one window there. And I'm going to get that small ruler again. See if you can locate it. He's about, we'll call him about a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to put 1/2 inch there. And so that I can make sure that I'm straight at the top of the house. I'm going to go ahead and get the other window. Okay. Before I do that, these windows are 1/4 inch apart. Okay, so if I get one window in place, so I have him positioned where I want him, and I'm going to come and take my next one. I'm going to put him right there so that he is 1/4 inch apart from the other one. They're both the same distance down from the top of the roof. I'm going to do one thing. That roof is about 2 inches, 4 inches across, right? About 4 inches. I'm going to get really particular here, okay? So if you really wanted to be super particular, the roof is about 4 inches at the top, so 2 inches in the middle. I could take one window, we could come 1/2 inch down and 1/8 inch from center. Okay. I'm going to iron. I'm going to get that kind of tacked in place. And again, the other one is 1/4 inch apart. Now I have 2 windows centered in that roof at the same distance down. And then we have 3 sets of 2 that we need to put into place. Okay. The first set I'm going to do is the set right by the door. And again, these are also 1/4 inch apart. So if you get one set, then you know exactly the distance or where to put the other one. Okay, so I'm going to look here. I'm going to go, this one is approximately 1 inch up from the bottom of the house and about 1 inch over from the door. Okay, I've got my door, 1 inch over, 1 inch up. I did that and I didn't measure. Yeah. Okay. So there's one. And then my other one is going to be 1/4 inch from that one. Okay. Just tap it with a hot iron just to hold it. And then we're going to do the set of windows above that are going to be right above that set that we just put down. Okay, so I'm going to peel 2 more windows. I'm going to measure. The distance between those 2 windows is 3/4 inch. So I'm going to come 3/4 inch. I'm going to put one window here. If you wanted, you could stick some pins into stuff to hold it down. And 1/4 inch over from that. That's in place. And I'm going to take my iron, kind of make sure nothing moves on me. Pull my pins, set those down. Okay, there's 2. And then our last 2, I'm going to peel the paper off here and we're going to measure. They're just about 1 inch apart from the other ones. I would say they're in line with the door. So I would line your ruler up with the edge of the door and the top of your ruler up with the bottom of the other windows. And I'm going to put one right at the edge of my ruler. And I'm going to put the other right 1/4 inch away. And then we're going to set that in place. Okay. That's my house. Okay, my house is done. We're going to move him off here. Let me clean up all my mess. Okay. We're going to carefully peel the house up off that mat. Okay, see, all one piece. And I'm just going to set them to the side. I'm not going to iron them to that yet. I want to create my other pieces first. Okay. We're going to work on the beehive, the strawberries, and the flowers. So working from the background out, I'm going to get the post that the beehive is sitting on. And we're going to get him in place. First. Okay, and then I'm going to get my beehive. Now I'm actually going to tuck this beehive just a little bit underneath of that post. Okay, so I just peeled that up a little and stuck just about maybe 1/16 of an inch underneath of that. And then I have a door to our beehive. Let's see. Pretty much right there. All right. And with that, I am going to go ahead and hit it with a hot iron for a moment. And then we're going to start building our leaves and then our strawberries. Okay, So I'm going to get my leaves, and again I'm going to clip all the connectors. The biggest leaf, okay, is going to be, I think it's labeled as leaf number 2. The medium-sized leaf is leaf number 3. And the smallest leaf is leaf number 1 at the very top. Okay. We have 3 flowers to get into place. How is everybody doing on their previous months? Are we keeping up? I believe all 3 flowers, for the most part, are pretty close to being identical. Lastly, we will do our strawberries. And then we have our strawberry tops. Okay. Now, before I take an iron to this, I'm going to remove these 2 flowers. They're not connected to anything, so ironing them down isn't going to do anything until we get them onto fabric. Okay, so I'm going to throw away all this paper here. Now that I've got those 2 little flowers off, everything else is touching another applique. So for the most part. Everything will stick to something when I lift it up. Okay. All right. Move that out of the way for the moment. Bring our background in here that we have pieced. Our house is going to go on here. Ultimately, the location of the house is make sure that you are at least your 1/4 of an inch down from the top and over enough from the side. Okay. Looks like this little guy. Like right at the corner of the house. Remember, there's vines and things that we will use to attach all of this together. Yep. He's just about the same height as the house. Got some vines that'll go here. Strawberry, strawberry. Okay. So once you get everything positioned the way that you would like, we're going to iron it. Give it a final press. Do not move your iron back and forth. Lift and move it. Just about a count of 10. Making sure before you put the iron down that nothing is moved in the area where you're getting ready to press it. Now once I press from the front, I like to press from the back as well, because the back is going to be closest to the glue. And so this will definitely make sure that I got all of the areas attached. Okay. And there is Honeybee Hollow ready to be ready to be appliqued. Okay. We're going to come back over to the table here. And we're going to assemble, we're going to work through a portion of this bee, because I feel like he's got that little striped section on him is a little, not intricate, but it's a different way of doing it. All right, now let's go over here and get our bumblebee. All right. Everything is the same corners that we've been doing in terms of stitch and flip corners or fold back corners or anything along that lines. I specifically want to look at the gold and the gray. Okay. We're going to sew these together just like this. We're going to sew a 1/4 of an inch into basically kind of like a rail fence that we're going to, and then we're going to trim this to a 3.5 inch square, but on point. So while I'm there, so we have our wing fabric. Our wing fabric is going to get an A square, which is going to be this little itty bitty tiny one here, is going to go in the corner on both of them. Now, if you are normally, if you're doing the traditional draw a line from corner to corner, and then you can sew on that line, you can do that. I'm going to pre-cut this corner. So I'm going to take my folded corner clipper. I'm going to lay it there in the corner. I just got to grab a couple of pins. And I'm going to cut. So now I just need to go sew a 1/4 of an inch from that edge. Okay, I don't have to get out a marker, I don't have to draw a line. Yeah, I have, in terms of keeping up, well, I have to get at least to keep up with you guys so that I'm ready to do it. I did get the last of my blocks pieced just yesterday. I do not have that month blanket stitched, so I think I've only gotten 1 month blanket stitch. So yes, as Betsy says that they're coming to retreat. I should probably make it a point to find time to sit at retreat and stitch some of these as well. So I'm going to sew 1 gold to 1 gray. I'm going to sew another gold to gray, and then we're going to join these together. So let's come on over to the sewing machine. All right. Oh, I forgot I was a good person and cleaned and oiled my machine, put a brand new needle in it yesterday. Forgot to rethread that needle. Okay, now that I've got a twist here. 1/4 of an inch seam. So I'm going to I'm using my 1/4 inch foot. Look at 1 second. I gotta look at the, yeah, okay. Want to make sure that my yellows are going in the same direction on both sets. Okay. Well, let's feed that in. I'm gonna take this little guy, I'm gonna feed him in. I'm gonna cut my 2 pieces that my 2 gold gray units off. I'm going to take these 2 gold gray units and I'm going to put them right sides together. And I'm going to sew that together. I'm a big chain piecer. I like to sit down and do everything for one particular step at a time. Okay, so my two wings are done and my little body. We're going to go over to the ironing board. And let's get all that out of the way. Now I'm going to press the wing triangle pieces. I'm just going to press away from center. These should measure a 3.5 inch square. Okay, those are done. This unit I'm going to take and I'm going to press all these seams open. Completely your choice. It's not a requirement that the seams be pressed open. I just think it lays flatter for what we're going to get ready and do. Okay. There he is. So we're going to take that unit and we're going to come over to the cutting table and we're going to cut him to size. Okay. So the instructions show you or tell you to basically trim this at a 45-degree angle. Okay, I'm going to find my 3.5 inch square. Okay, so we're going to take a 3.5 inch square ruler. If you don't have a 3.5 inch square ruler, cut yourself a piece of paper at 3.5 inches square. Cut yourself another piece of fabric at 3.5 inches square so that you can put this on here to visualize what we're doing. Okay, so if you lay this piece, your pieced piece, at a 45-degree angle, okay? So if you take and turn him kind of on point, so you got one point on a line on the mat and the other point line on the mat, you can take your square and lay him in here, okay? Doesn't matter which end is pieced, or, you know, I would probably try to do it so that the corner of your 3.5 inch square is right on a seam. So let me do one thing. Let's see. Let's grab, I'm going to cut a 3.5 inch square out of some fabric so that you can see it better than the clear ruler that we have going on there. All right. One second. Let's cut. All right, so there's the 3.5 inch square. So I'm going to lay this so that the points of my square are right at the seam of the middle 2 units, okay? And then I'm going to cut all the way around that to give me my pieced bumblebee body. Okay, so I can take my ruler and lay on top of it. I don't know what I hit with this rotary blade, but obviously I've hit something because I've nicked this blade. Okay. I'm just notching the corners because this ruler has notched corners on it. There is your bumblebee body. Okay. So after you have your bumblebee body, you'll have your wing units. You'll piece your head unit that is pieced with the remaining blocks that you have there. Okay. Basically, we have a head, let's get his head in the right corner and we'll be good to go. And then this is going to get a corner, and that's going to get a corner. Okay, and that will be your bumblebee. Okay, so this is the most challenging part, is getting that particular body section ready. Do I have questions at all? Because then you'll be ready to piece your flower block. Just with the flower block, just for you. Okay, so with the flower block, we have that flying geese unit that we're going to be making with basically, let me put that in one corner and that in another. Okay. So there is a half square triangle, well, not really a half square triangle, but there is a folded triangle corner that's going to go on each side. And when you do that, you want to make sure that you pay attention to the stripe before you just lay and fold on a corner, if that makes sense. So I would get all of your flying geese pieces made, okay, and then work on assembling. So you'll have these, and then you're going to need to do these corners, okay, however you want to do the corners. Okay, so whether you want those to go this way or you want them to match that direction, but I would just make sure that you laid it out consistently so that one corner didn't go one way and one didn't go the other. Okay, so that's, or don't care at all and just put it together, right? Nothing in nature is perfect. So he would be just fine. All right. And that is what I have for you this month. There is a request for thread colors that I am using with my Isacords, because I'm using Isacord to stitch the appliques. Okay, so this is, I've used Isacord embroidery thread for this. And I don't have a set list of thread that I'm using, because every block is going to have different colors. They're not all going to use all the same colors for the most part. I am working through creating a list of thread colors to match the fabrics that are in it. It's going to take me a little bit. It'll probably just be easier for me to post these are the thread colors that I used in this month type thing. So I'll work on, so for like example, this is all of the shamrock that hasn't gotten put back yet, because I figured that at some point there was going to be, this fabric would be used again and that type of thing. So I am working through trying to assign a thread color to a print so that there is a key as we go along, but it will be an ever changing list or ever growing list, since every month we have different fabrics in different blocks. Well, I hope that you found this helpful and hopefully motivational to at least keep yourself moving, even if they're not all appliqued. Hopefully we'll have a winter this year that will give us actual snow, and then we can sit and stitch in the warmth of the sewing room while it is nice and chilly and snowy outside. Hopefully Mother Nature will cooperate with us this month, as she didn't do it for us last year. Again, if you're just joining us and are not part of our Block of the Month program, we do have kits available for the full wall hanging. And so the kits that we have available are to make the entire wall hanging that's here. For that, they do not contain the laser cut kit, the laser cut pieces for the applique, and they do not contain buttons. My Block of the Month, you have buttons that you'll need for the project. Well, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Keep working on your project, your Wander Lane. Hopefully by the time we meet next month, I will hopefully have some more things appliqued. It's on the goal to have done, but we shall see. Thank you guys. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you all next month.